All right. Hello and welcome to the show. This is Chris Nelson. It is October 28th, 2020, and I can't believe that October is already almost coming to an end. Can you believe it, love?
No, time is moving very quickly this year. This has been a crazy year, and it just kind of keeps moving forward.
I think we got a lot done this month. I mean, this month was pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, we had an awesome medical freedom rally this Sunday. That was really awesome. What did you get done?
Well, just doing the mask burning protests,
Oh, right, you had one
medical
Sunday.
freedom rally.
Right.
Um, I moved not that long ago, and it's just been a great month. Anyway, I'm Chris Nelson. I'm here with Love Cohen, who is co-founder of Reopen South Florida, and we've known each other for a little while now. And as always, please like and share this around. And I know a lot of you saw the video of Love, and you have another name you go by. I just call you Love.
My legal name is Rachel, but I find that the people that endear themselves to me the most are the ones that call me Love. So
They're the
it's
ones
either
that
way.
get to call you Love.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you were at a school board meeting up in Volusia County 2 days ago, and this is what happened at that meeting. I mean,
I'm so worried that my entire behind was going to be
uh,
covered on some national TV station. I was just like, please, someone get that covered.
she had her child left in there.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me back in there. I thought when I was coming out that I was coming out to get arrested. So I was like really prepared for that next step. And so when I came out and there was just this group of women and the police officers dumped me out there, I was like, I was in total shock. I was like, what am I doing out here? You're supposed to be arresting me. It was just a very confusing moment.
Well, I mean, you were ready to get arrested. Now, what happened inside?
Okay, well, we went to this meeting, none of us having any intention of getting arrested or making a scene whatsoever at all. We went to the Volusia County Board of Education meeting where they were going to be discussing and voting on mandated masks in Volusia County schools, and it would be an indefinite mandate. So, that's very out of the ordinary considering most cities and counties have a mandate that has to be continuously renewed, which theoretically gives some level of right, like people like these elected officials are accountable, right? But I mean, it's bullshit, right? They're not accountable, but like there's some accountability, like they have to keep meeting and keep voting, and this would take away all of that, like accountability. Like it was just, we're going to make this mandate and it's forever until we say it's over. So that was a really big deal, obviously.
I've been
um,
saying this. No, go ahead.
no, I can tell you the story, but you can also just cut
Well,
in
I
and
mean, I've
say,
been saying this for a while now that this is not something temporary. When I heard the words, we are moving to a new normal, it didn't sound to me like there was any place in there for moving back from the new normal.
right. And
So,
that's, I think, the frightening part and what this was indicative of. If you're going to make this indefinite, is you think this is just the new normal, right? That's what the concern was, of course, but also the loss of parents having the right to make medical choices for their children, because children are not the property of the state. They're not the property of the school board. Their decisions get made by their parents until they're 18 years old. And so we were also there to fight for family rights. But we went to the meeting and they they told us we needed masks, and we said that we had medical exemptions, and because the city of DeLand's mask mandate does allow for medical exemptions, they hemmed and they hawed, and then they kind of just let us walk in, and we all sat down. And yeah, we sat down, so we were in there, and then they started huddling, like all the board
Oh yeah,
chair
I know
and
that
the lawyer.
huddle. I know what that huddle looks like.
Yeah. So they came together, and then there was like all this talking, and it was like 20 minutes later and nothing was happening. And then they approached us, and they told us that we had to have masks on in order to be there. And so this was when it all ensued for the next hour. And I mean, I'm going to tell you what you already know. The county does not have a mask mandate. Okay, we were sitting on county property. It was the county board of education. The state, as we know, the governor made a new executive order that said there was no penalty for not wearing a mask in public. So I said, I'm not putting a mask on my face based on the fact that both my county and state say that I don't have to have one in a public place. Additionally, my city says that I can use a medical exemption, and I have all the right in the world to sit here. And they said, no, the school board, this is our room, and you can't sit in our room without a mask on. And I said, this is my room. I pay my taxes. I live in Volusia County, and I own this building. And they disagreed with that. So that was the back and the forth, and it lasted a very long time.
So the school board now has a level in this. You've got the city, the city of DeLand has a mask mandate, right?
Yes.
But they've got the medical exemptions.
Correct.
Volusia
Which
County.
the lawyer for the city of DeLand, I've been to all of the county commission meetings to discuss the mask mandate, and he stood there and he told us, a few feet away from us, we were talking to him like real people, all medical exemptions will be honored, and no one will harass you about not wearing a mask in the city of DeLand if you have a medical exemption. And frankly, they said, it's really just to send a message that we're putting out this mandate. We're not actually going to follow up with it with our law enforcement officers. This was all stated at the city meeting. So,
Well, so much for that. But and of course, the state, there's never been any state mask mandate in Florida. In fact, a legal battle was won today. This was an individual court case. This wasn't one of the lawsuits against the counties that Representative Anthony Sabatini has filed. This was a person who, like myself, received a ticket for not wearing a mask, okay, and then fought it in court. And the judge actually ruled that he was guilty of not wearing a mask. I don't understand guilty of not wearing a mask. I mean, guilty? That not wearing a mask makes you guilty of what? So he's guilty of not wearing a mask. However, in the ruling, it was upheld that no, this executive order keeps me from issuing you the fine. So really, Governor DeSantis is the line between us and the psychopaths right now. So,
but what it does is it limits people that don't have the financial means to get a lawyer. And so it's great that Anthony represented this fellow, but there are many people that don't know that there might be a lawyer that would represent them pro bono and are following these mandates because they don't think they would have representation if they were given a citation or a fine.
Now, I don't want to speak for him. I can only say what he said. I know that time gets limited, but State Representative Sabatini said that he would pro bono represent anybody who was given a ticket for not wearing a mask. And so if you are somebody, I just want that information out there, because exactly what she said. This is what's been going on, is a direct targeted attack at people that don't have a lot of means, a lot of wealth, a lot of money, the people that can't send their kids to a private school. I'd really like to know how many of these commissioners that just love these masks really wear them themselves, and how many of them send their children to public school where they have to wear a mask all day as opposed to
Let me tell you how many of these people that came to talk to us, including the lawyer for the Board of Education, including their chair, or the board chair, I guess her name was, mask down here, nose sticking out the top of their mask. And we kept saying to them, you're not wearing a mask right now. Just because you have it here, you're not actually even following. They didn't care.
Why not give these son of a bitches some dose of what they put people through and have them sit in school all day with a rigid security type person or teacher constantly fussing at them to keep their mask over their nose, and then they're actually in schools moving people in the hallway. They have these hall monitors keeping people from socializing with each other. And children have a 99.99% recovery rate from this.
Yeah.
And even, let me tell you something, even if the recovery rate from this was 50%, this crap still should not be going on. I don't care. I mean, that would suck if there was something that was actually wiping out 50% of children. I mean, I would think there would be other things that should take place. Like, let's figure out what the cause of it is. But a 99.9%, 99% recovery rate and what we're doing to these children is horrible. So when you are in there, now, your video, the video I just showed, which good job getting that video. I want to tell everybody, get video. This is just my slogan. If it's not on video, it never happened. And the police always say, oh, we're videoing too, because they always got their body cam. But let me tell you something. They released the body cam footage, but there's no way they would have put that out. Wait, hold on. I actually found out something new today. Body cam footage, you can put in a public records request.
They might charge you, though, so just be prepared.
Okay, so any police body cam footage, I want people to know this because I actually didn't know this, is
under the Freedom of Information Act. Yes.
If you put in you can put in a public records request, which is very easy to do and get it. So if you're in an incident with the police involving them harassing you over a mask or something stupid like that, or you've been arrested or something, you can get that. So anyway, the body cam footage was released, and really only because of what you did. But I want to go
shocked, though. I told you earlier, I'm so shocked because I find that body cam footage even more damning than anything that I shared. I mean, if you take the time to watch it, it's like, I think, an hour and 15 minutes. It's horrifying to watch some of these women being ripped away from their children. This woman is saying to the officer, take your hands off me. I'm just taking a baby from the mother so that you don't arrest this mother holding a baby. And the officer's grabbing her by her arms. And this woman is like, she came out of the room crying. She was in tears, and her friend said, "Why are you crying?" And she said, "They wouldn't take their hands off me. They kept putting their hands on me." And she wasn't one of the women that was being trespassed. She had already been outside the room, and she just came to take the baby. So they're dragging her out, and she's yelling at these people that they're sheep, which was really fantastic.
It was good. I caught that. I mean, this is just disgraceful here, what these police are doing. And I really want police officers to understand that they took an oath to protect and uphold the United States Constitution before they took an oath to just obey orders or whatever. And while we may back the blue, hey, if you're going to treat us like garbage and obey the master over your oath to the Constitution, then, hey, we're not going to, don't expect us to be so loving towards you. All right. And then the other side, we know, would, rip your head off if they could and burn your police cars down. So, we're your allies, police officers, and don't treat us bad. But I want to go back here. I want to be fair.
I want to make sure that it is fairly understood that they worked very hard to speak to us and find a compromise, as they said. And they don't understand this idea that we're not giving up our rights, that we're claiming them and we're defending them. That's foreign. It shouldn't be foreign, obviously. We've lost so much in this country that the idea that claiming and defending and using your rights is a foreign idea. But I just want to be fair that they were not brutes. They just felt that they needed to do their job, which was to trespass us. That's what the directive was from their, boss.
What's the deal? They didn't cuff you or arrest you. They just dragged you out of tossed you
Well,
out like
I
a
mean,
bouncer tossing somebody out of a nightclub or something.
in the midst of it all, you, Chris, were amazing. I gave Chris a call, and he gave me good suggestions. He was there for me. He said, get everything on video. And I also asked him to get in touch with Anthony Sabatini for us. So Anthony called and spoke to the police in the middle of all of this. So, the police were speaking to a lawyer, and he was giving them some counsel. And I honestly think that they knew, not just the police, but the school board and the city of DeLand, that arresting us was going to be a huge mistake. First of all, you have 8 mothers, some of them there with children. Actually, almost all of them there had children, but some of the children were outside. You're going to separate mothers from their children. That's number one. That's terrible optics. That's going to look horrible for the city, for the school board, for the county. But secondly, they recognized that they weren't in the right. They might have been able to finagle a little bit, with us. None of us were lawyers sitting there, but they weren't in the right. And so they would have had to have gone to court and fought this executive order that the governor said, no penalties for not wearing a mask in a public place. And I don't think they wanted to get into that legal battle. That's
Well, of course they wouldn't. But then the question comes up, if they weren't going to charge you with anything and you weren't really doing anything wrong, then why the hell did they toss you out of the school board meeting? And this really should fall back on the school board, because
it is.
if you read
the only people I say are at fault right now are the school board.
I mean, if you read what's in the YouTube video from the police, and this is literally the day after it happens, it says right there in the video, in the description of the video. Actually, I'll go ahead and read it here. That it says right here, DeLand police officers were called at about 1 p.m. Tuesday, October 27th to the Volusia County School Board building in reference to a disturbance involving several citizens who were attempting to attend the meeting yet refused to wear masks, which is in violation of the Volusia County School Board's policy. Okay, so the school board can have a policy. The city
said that all of Florida
can have a policy.
has policy.
Can I have a policy, just a Chris policy, that I don't want any obnoxious people within 10 feet of me? And if any of them come within 10 feet of me and I deem them to be obnoxious, I can call the police and have them trespassed. Verb for being. Can I just set my own policy?
A lot of people are asking me, is it really a verb? Can you use that as a verb? Everyone was saying,
is it a verb? Trespassed. You've been trespassed.
No.
That's what trespass is. It's taking somebody and then throwing them out on the curb. I've been trespassed from a couple of my own homes by the woman I was with at the time. They trespassed me. Get the hell out. But I've never heard it used as a verb like that before.
They were all saying it. All the officers and also the school board kept telling us we were going to be trespassed.
So here's what they say here. To reiterate, the police department was not enforcing the school board's mask policy. Boy, they really did not want to do this. But they did it. I don't care if the police didn't want to do it. They still did it. And they can try to walk it back all they want. But the police should have done is said, look, they're not trespassing and we can't do this. Goodbye. And just left. The police department is not the tool of the school board. Okay? I don't care if the school board answers, or if their bosses might answer to members of the school board. I don't care. The rank and file police do not answer to the school board. They're not the personal security force of the school board. All right? And just there for their convenience. Hello? Okay, so the police department said here, we were not enforcing the school board's mask policy, but rather following the law by removing the trespass parties from the meeting room based on a Florida law. Those who defy an order to leave after being trespassed. Then, is this Volusia County talk? We were trespassed. When I lived up in Pennsylvania, people would say the grass needs cut. So from the property could be charged with a first-degree misdemeanor. However, the Volusia County School Board and DeLand PD have declined to press charges. Well, okay. Look, they can walk it back, all they want, but instantly they say we're not pressing charges. They just wanted you out of the room. So
right.
what are
That's
the
right.
lawyers telling you about this? What is your recourse here? And here she is. I love this woman. I love her. She's breastfeeding there. It's just great.
Yeah,
And you said she was barefoot too, right?
she was
I
barefoot, but
love it.
they
I love it. They
didn't
didn't
get
care
past
about that though.
that.
She wasn't
Um,
wearing a mask. That was
I just
there.
noticed
Oh,
how these chairs are saran
I'm
wrapped.
sorry. I know this is probably not fun for you, but anyway, what were you saying?
Just that the chairs are saran wrapped in between each other. So there already was social distancing in place. And everything we've been told by everyone in positions of power is if you can't social distance, then you need to wear a mask. This was not a supermarket where people are going to come out of an aisle and surprise you. Oh my God, I didn't know we wouldn't be social distance. You're sitting in a chair. You don't move. And, every chair had a separate space in between it. And we said to them, hey, did you know that we're social distance, so we don't need masks on? And they just completely ignored, obviously. You're in South Florida. You go through this every time with your own commissioner meetings. It's total BS.
Do you think that, I mean, was she breastfeeding before they started having their little conferences?
She was breastfeeding during the whole meeting.
Okay. Well, I'll be honest. I used to be one of those guys that was like, oh, why do women have to, why do they have to do that in public? Blah, blah, blah. Well, let me just tell you, I've changed my opinion on it. I think it's great. And do you think that they were using the mask as a reason? And do you think maybe they were more upset by the breastfeeding and that might have had something to do with it?
No, I don't think they were upset by the breastfeeding. I wouldn't say that was an issue for them. No, no one acted in any way that was disrespectful. But, I think that Tia was utilizing it as a method of social dissidence. And I think we need to use any methods that we can. And so that's what,
Look at the cop. They're looking at.
well, she was saying,
I
sir, you
love this
can't
girl. I love her. I want to meet her. I don't know if I'm friends with her on
you should
Facebook.
definitely interview her. She'll give you an awesome interview.
This woman's awesome. Look at the cop's face.
He was telling her that she was making this choice. And, she was saying, I'm not making a choice. My baby's eating. And he was saying, well, you need to be responsible and stop your baby from eating so we can get you out of here. It was kind of a ridiculous conversation. And it's interesting, actually, that they needed to black out her breast because it just says a lot about our culture. A woman using her breast to feed a child is considered something that should be blacked out.
Well, you know who the psychopaths are in this room. They're not her. They're not her. I mean, people won't see this, but the psychos in the room are the ones that think it's normal to put saran wrap on chairs to keep people separated from each other and just put masks on their faces to protect themselves from a virus that a mask isn't going to stop from going in and out. I mean, those are the crazy people.
Yes.
Do you think a lot of people understand that? I think they do. I think there's a lot of people that get that.
Yeah.
So,
if you go further back in the footage, I don't know if you can, but there's a woman that was sitting in her seat and she asked, it's not so much farther back than where you were. It was the first woman that they trespassed and picked up and removed. Yeah, it's her. That's right. The one
okay,
that's sitting
that
right
one,
there.
yeah.
And yeah, she keeps saying to them, tell me why you're trespassing me. What did I do? I'd like to be able to understand before you actively remove me. Why am I being trespassed? And of course, everyone ignored her, but it took 2 cops to get her up out of that chair. She was incredibly brave and incredibly empowered to stand up to 2 cops. I was really moved by these women and their incredible bravery. I mean, I don't see any, I've heard you say this too, Chris. I've heard you say this. I don't see any men coming out here and getting themselves potentially arrested like this. This was 8 women. So you see, yeah, they grab her. It took 2 of them.
Oh, you don't want to get hurt? That woman's going to hurt you, buddy. I mean, you were all amazing. I mean, when I was just so glad, I'm just so happy to call you all my friends after seeing this. And the way you did it with making them drag you out,
I want to
making your body go
tell
limp.
you, someone that we know, that both of us know, I think is an inspiration of both of us, is Ammon Bundy. And I would say that today, everything that I did was using Ammon's example and having learned from him, watching him at the Idaho legislative meeting where he sat in a chair and he would not get up from that chair. And those officers came up to him and they tried to get him up and he wouldn't move. I completely have learned so much from People's Rights and from Ammon Bundy about what are my rights, how do I claim them, how do I use them, and how do I defend them. And when I was in that room yesterday, I felt like I was like a student who was having the first opportunity to, use all the knowledge and employ it. And it was really an incredible opportunity. I thank Ammon. I think we both feel like, he's been an incredible inspiration for those of us who are fighting for freedom.
Yes, he has. And I think it's good to point out that when you came out and you were let go, because of course you didn't do anything wrong, there was a nice group of people gathered outside, wasn't there?
Yes.
And how did they find out about what was going down?
Do you think it was People's Rights? Because I'm not sure.
I know it was People's Rights. We got the word out, and that is a system that Ammon Bundy created. And it is something where if something's going down, we can't always rely on Facebook. We could get censored. We can't always rely on the internet and things like that. But what this system does is it puts out an alert. And it's especially for things that are happening right then and there. Like somebody is, and God knows how crazy it could get. Somebody is trying to force an injection on a vaccine on a child in a hospital right now. Everybody get there. Somebody's being dragged out of a school board meeting. We need people there. What it basically does is it connects to people in the network in your area and then alerts them to something like this that's going on, so people can come and maybe even if they have to create a human shield around you. We have to really look out for each other, and the way that you get involved in this is text rights to 80123. I got that right?
Yeah, I always tell people, take out your phone, make like you're going to text your friend, but instead of writing your friend's name in the text, in the number, you're writing 80123 as the recipient of your text. And then in the body of the text, you write the word rights. And I think it's really incredible to share that we utilize the system. I called Chris and I called Alana, who's another People's Rights area assistant. And I said, I need help. I need help right now. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I think I might get arrested. I think I need people here. And they sent out a text, I guess. I didn't receive the text, so I was confused. But
I got
hopefully it did go. Okay.
Yep.
I'm glad you got it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it went out. And people showed up. And I just think that's just such a great thing. And the more people in the network, the better. And it's so important because we're going to need this moving forward. And then just the medical freedom rally was so awesome on Saturday.
It was very much on Sunday. Your Delray Beach one was on Saturday.
Oh God, there's just so many rallies going on that I got confused, but so many great rallies. So we did this on Sunday up in DeLand, and you gave a really good talk about COVID and the connection with the Holocaust. Do you want to, before we go, just talk about that for a minute? Because that was very interesting.
I feel very passionate about this topic. This is one of the most defining elements of my life as a Jewish person and as an individual who was a student of the Holocaust, both in my undergraduate degree and just as a person who's read a ton of literature. I feel that there is a very direct correlation between what is going on right now, or rather a parallel, not really a correlation, and 1930s Germany. And in the talk, I discussed something that Ammon Bundy did, which was that he gave a speech in May in Idaho, relating the parallel that Jews towards the end of the Holocaust were brought to pits. They were shot in the back of the head, fell into the pit, they were dead. And he said, look, guys, this is it's going to happen here. Okay. You think that that's crazy, but once you begin to lose your rights and not fight for them, they're gone and you lose them. And it's near impossible to get them back. And the liberal media and Jewish publications and historians, Holocaust historians, were up in arms. Like, they couldn't believe that a non-Jew would be so brazen to make this parallel. And what chutzpah, like, how could this man consider doing this? And so it's really important to me as a Jewish person to say, I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right. I think there are differences between America in 2020 and 1940s Germany or other Eastern European countries that the Jews were living in. And I think it's important to state what they are. The Jews had lived for 1,000 years under oppressive rule of their Christian host countries and had lost pretty much all of their rights and had no idea that they even had rights anymore or how they would get them back. In this country, right, we were built upon an overthrowing of a monarchy and of liberty and justice and taking what's ours and owning those rights and fighting for them. And so I think that what was most scary to Ammon that he was touching on, which I agree with, is how quickly people lose their rights when they stop using them and fighting for them and defending them. And he was saying, like, this is going to happen in this country. It's going to happen very easily and very quickly if we are not more actively using and defending our rights. And I completely agree.
I mean, we've got right now, I'm looking for the article, but we've got Mayor de Blasio up in New York City. I mean, first he starts carrying on back in April. This is when my antenna went up, was back in April. We heard this guy. I mean, he starts carrying on about the Jews. He starts saying, how can you have this funeral? It was this funeral in Brooklyn. And he comes out and he writes this tweet, like, I'm really upset with the Jews. And he's talking about Orthodox Jews. And you can see them wearing masks there. And this guy just seems to have a lot of problems with Jewish people. And this guy's the mayor of New York City. And then just recently, and I was looking for the article to show it here, just recently, he was sending people to the houses of Orthodox Jews and going into their homes and getting on them for having gatherings of more than 10 people. Now, here's the thing, and this is the problem when it comes to these. Not only are these gross constitutional violations, but what we're seeing happen is selective enforcement of it. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, they can do their little thing all they want, all day long. But if more than 10 Jewish people try to get together in a home, and let me tell you something, to the Gentiles out there, which I'm a Gentile, and my Gentile friends, the Christians, let me tell you something. They'll go after the Jews first, but then it's not long before they turn to the Christians big time. That's not the only reason to defend Jewish people, but it's not long after. Yeah, you're also awesome, but it's not long after that they turn to the Christians as well. And yeah,
I think you just mentioned something that triggered a thought for me. First there's a guy that said first they came for these people, and then they came for these people. It wasn't me, so I didn't react. And then they came for me. But what happens when they come for us, right? What's the next step? Well, why are they coming for us? Most people would say they're going to next come for us for the COVID vaccine. They're going to mandate that the COVID vaccine be taken. And when you say no, what's going to happen to you? Well, Chris, we didn't talk about tonight. I don't need to take too much of your time, but we have a mandated vaccine law here in Florida. It's on the books. There is a statute. The number is too hard for me to remember, so we can share it later. But there's a law that says that the public health officer can call a public health emergency. That's already been done. Scott Rifkes, the Surgeon General of Florida, is also the public health officer. He's already put that into play. Next thing that happens is that he can call on everyone to get vaccinated. He doesn't need permission from anyone. He has full and complete control over that. The governor doesn't get to have a say. He doesn't answer to anyone. He's not an elected official. He gets to say, okay, we're mandating the vaccine. What happens if you say no? The next part that's in that statute is that they allow people to be removed from their homes and put in a different place. We used to call those concentration camps. I don't know what you want to call them today. And we stay there until they say we can come out. This is what the statute says. So, we talk about this like, oh, yeah, it's crazy that it would become like the Holocaust. Maybe someday. That someday is right now.
Well, we've seen some of these public health officials and the ones that are not so bright, because a lot of them aren't very bright, they've let it slip a couple times. And I remember back May 10th, when we heard our county administrator, Bertha Henry, all of a sudden she starts talking about removing people from homes and sticking them somewhere for 14 days. And how are we going to feed them? And that really raised some eyebrows. People are like, what the hell is she talking about? And then they walked that back so fast. They're like, oh, no, she didn't say anything like that. And that's crazy talk and stuff like that. But I think that some of them let the plan slip out. And when you've got what you have going on now is contact tracers in schools where they're calling the homes of people and saying your child has been in contact with somebody with COVID-19, you must quarantine for 2 weeks. There's a very thin line between doing that and saying you got to come with us for 2 weeks. Your child has to come with us for 2 weeks. We need to move him to this camp. And then we've got politicians coming out and suggesting that people that resist the wearing masks, or actually Trump voters, should be put into a re-education camp. And then they already have these in China. So they're blatantly talking about it.
I think that the next interview you should do is probably with someone in the military, because my understanding from people who have children currently in the military is that they are being quarantined for the 2-week period, and they're being put into rooms that are in isolation. They have no television and they can't leave the room, and they get brought food, and there's nothing in the room. I mean, I have a mom that I know personally whose daughter just went through that. And do you know what that's called? That's called solitary confinement. Okay. And they're not allowed to leave. If they leave, then what, they get kicked out of the military with dishonorable discharge? I don't know. But colleges also have the exact same thing that they're doing. They are forcing students to go into separate individual rooms. They bring them their meals to the rooms. They're not allowed to leave the rooms. This is how we treat terrorists.
I mean, I think we treated the people in Guantanamo Bay better. I think Khalid Sheikh Mohammed gets better treatment, and he's still alive, by the way. He's still down there preaching his hatred from his cell in Guantanamo, and I think he gets better treatment than this. I didn't know about that, about what you just told me in the military, but what we're doing here is we're talking about forced masking. We're talking about forced quarantines, which is exactly what you and I and a lot of other people have been warning people about since this started. But you, of course, have been warning people about this stuff for longer. And
Yeah.
I didn't believe that I would today be I mean, I thought that
Just say it.
anti-vaxxers were nutty.
Oh, no. We call ourselves Vaccine Choice because
I called you anti-vaxxers back like a year ago, and I thought that when I saw that woman in New York City being like surrounded by an angry mob, I was like, she should be able to decide whether or not to vaccinate her kid. But I thought it was kind of a little bit of a fringe thing. But now you guys are all looking like geniuses. How does that feel?
Nobody gets to decide what gets put into your body. After the Holocaust, we had something called the Nuremberg Code, and the forced experimentation on the prisoners in the death camps. The world came together and had a trial, the Nuremberg trial. And at the end of that, they said, you know what? That was pretty unethical. We shouldn't let that happen again. So from now on, if we want to do things that are experimental with people, we need to get informed consent. So vaccines are, in fact, experimental because they also carry inherent risk to taking a vaccine. And those in addition to wearing a mask. Also an experiment.
That's
Those are things that
experimental. Nobody knows the long-term effects.
of course, especially for children. It's one thing if you use, okay, they had a study with adults in hospitals and the surgeons wore a mask for a few hours. No child has ever been tested. What happens when you wear a mask for 7 hours during school? It is, of course, experimental. And so any medical experiment requires informed consent, which is true for vaccines as well, including the COVID vaccine, which is coming down the pike. And so most of us in the vaccine choice movement say, where there's risk, there must be choice. There must also be informed consent.
And, right now we've got 2 presidential candidates and a very big election. And one of them has said that he will listen to the scientists, whatever that means, as far as a mandated vaccine. And the other one has said unequivocally that he would not mandate a vaccine because there's people that feel very strongly about it. And that, of course, is Donald J. Trump. And it's so, I couldn't say it more. This is such a big election. This is the biggest election as far as medical choice goes that I could imagine.
I'll tell you that I agree with you that no thinking human should be voting for Biden. He has told everyone that he will institute a national mask mandate, and he should not receive the vote of anyone who has a brain cell.
Agreed, 100%. Well, love, I gotta say, it is so awesome and such an honor to work with you and to be fighting in this side by side with you.
I just want to call you out for 1 second and tell everyone what an amazing job you did at the rally for the Central Florida Unity Rally for Medical Freedom. You gave 2 incredible speeches. The first one was beautiful. I want to share it again, like I already shared it, but I just want to share it again about, can you say their 3 names?
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Who almost got thrown into an oven.
I'm surprised you hadn't heard this story. They were 3 Jewish boys. This is in the book of Daniel, and they were among the Jews that were exiled from Israel and taken to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. Well, King Nebuchadnezzar's little cabal there, or his advisors, came to him basically to set a trap for the Jews. They're always trying to set a trap for you guys. I don't understand.
Always.
But saying, okay, we want you to build a statue, King Nebuchadnezzar. Thanks. And everybody, every day when the instruments are played, have to bow down to the statue. And everybody who doesn't is going to get thrown in a fiery furnace. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, yeah, F that. We're not going to bow down before your stupid statue. We serve the living God, and he'll protect us. But even if he doesn't, we're not going to bow down to your statue. So he had set up a snitch line, though, and some people snitched on him for the 3 of them for not bowing down. And then they got thrown in the fiery furnace. But then when they looked in the furnace, there was a 4th person with them. And that was Jesus, by the way. And afterwards, they were saved. So it just shows about how people needed to stand up, and even if, and I guess we don't even know it until it comes down to it, but even if we face imprisonment and execution.
And I would say that speech that you gave was very much on my heart yesterday. Very much. Felt like, you know what? Here I go. Because I can't bow down to these idols, and I'm not willing to, be forced into anything. So thank you for sharing that with all of us. And then secondarily, even more powerful, Chris brought paraphernalia to burn masks. He didn't just have 1 mask or 5 masks. We had a gigantic, huge collection of masks, and he handed them out to all the people that were there. And the most moving moment for me of that day was watching my children, along with other children, throw masks into a fire. And I had an awareness in that moment, and the next day when other mothers told me what the experience meant to their children, that rally had no purpose other than that moment for those children. Because the only way that we make change is through the next generation. It doesn't fucking matter what those other adults there were thinking. They're there because they already believe it. We were teaching the children through action, because that's how children learn, not by words. This is what we believe, and we're doing this for you. And the energy that was there for them that they experienced, I realized we shouldn't be holding rallies for adults. We should be holding rallies for children.
It was that part of the event that just, that just was so exhilarating. And, here it is, seeing the kids throw their masks in the fire. And there's just something special about it, about lighting something on fire. There's something about it that it releases a kind of energy and really makes a statement that something like ripping up masks or something like that just doesn't do. And
yeah, it was just gorgeous. Each of these parents brought their child up, and the child like put the mask into the fire, and it was like, it was holy. It almost felt like, I'm guessing, like, you go to church and you get the host put into your mouth one by one. And it was sort of like, this was this holy moment where children were coming up one by one, enacting this moment of connection with God.
It was. It really had a spiritual element to it. I 100% agree. Yeah, absolutely. Come over here. Nicole wants to say hi.
Hi. I just got home from work. I just wanted to say hi. I'm so proud of you. I saw your video and I love you so much. It really does take a lot of strong people to stand up to the government. And you were 100% right about the parallels. I was telling that to Chris. I'm going to actually text you an article. I want you to read it. It's about the doctors and their huge role in the Holocaust, and how we cannot trust doctors that work for the government. I've been saying that since day one. Actually, the first day I ever met Chris, I talked about that. And the other thing I want to tell you is I really want to do a school walkout. So if you want to organize one with me, I have a really good idea for a school walkout, but we're going to have to get the kids to help us. But my favorite moment of that rally also was when the kids burned the masks. And then they said, Nicole, can we have some more masks to burn? And I was like, oh, shoot, I think we burned them all.
We burned them all.
And then I was like, okay, I have one left. Hold on.
And then it was like, oh, yeah, try asking at a medical freedom rally. Who's got a mask? And everyone's like,
you don't wear them. And we bought a pack of China masks just to burn for the rally. And because we didn't have to wear one the whole weekend. It was amazing. So that for me was a really big moment, because the kids were so happy to burn them, and just looking at their eyes and seeing that, it represented freedom, to burn the masks.
Yes.
And I really like that. But I really want to do a school walkout, and I have a really good idea for one that's very powerful, but I need help of the parents and I need the help of the students. So I don't know if it would be better to do high school students. I'm thinking the kids might need to be a little bit older just to be a little bit braver, but
I'm absolutely happy to chat with you. Yeah.
Perfect.
We just have to find anybody. Do you know anybody who sends their kids to these vile public schools anymore? That's the hardest part.
There is a Facebook group in my county for families who do send their kids to school, but are fighting for, reduced mandates in the schools. So that we do in my county have a place we can go and try to organize something like that. Yeah.
Let's do it. And as soon as, we have an opportunity, I'd love to chat with you personally about my idea, because it's a really, really good one. It's going to send a powerful message, and DeSantis, Trump, everyone will see this. And yes, music will be involved, because that's how our protests roll.
We don't need no education.
And it's going to be big, but it has to be a walkout that involves all or most of the kids.
It's going to be tricky. We don't need to talk about it now, but a lot of parents of children that are in high school age, college age, I'm sure you hear and know that there is a gigantic generational gap between this kind of liberal thinking, follow the herd mentality, and then people like in our generation are fighting this. So it's not going to be easy to get the kids. I think that the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds are still listening to their parents and open. These high school students, though, they're drinking the Kool-Aid.
They're drinking the Kool-Aid. But, are we not fighting that same battle, though, where we're going against the herd mentality? I think a couple of kids standing up in school and taking their masks off and saying, we've had enough of this, and walking out, I mean, it could trigger something even bigger.
Don't forget that during the Target protests, 5 of the 11 people were children. It was 5 young boys that we met in the parking lot, and they decided to do the Target protest with us. There were 6 adults and 5
Amazing.
people under the age of 18. So
I definitely do not underestimate the power of children. I have seen that they can make huge change.
All right, we'll talk about this more later. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me, Rachel Love Cohen. You are absolutely amazing, and so were all the other women that were there
You're
at the
really
event.
good.
And I want to talk to the lady that was breastfeeding because
Okay, I'll put you in touch with Pia.
All right, be sure to like and share this all around because we got to get our message out. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yada 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 yada. This is Chris Nelson. Have a great night.
Okay.